Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to today's trade recap. Today is Friday, the 20th of March, and we're going to be going over our NQ London trade setup from today. So before we do get started, everything I share here, trade setups analysis, is all for educational purposes only. I'm not a financial advisor. Nothing on this page is financial advice. Trading futures involves significant risk. Never trade with money you cannot afford to lose. So now that's clear. Let's get straight to it. Coming into the day, this is what I wanted to see. Oh, wait. I'll show you the execution first so you know I'm not bullshitting. There you go. Entry here. Exit here. Beautiful. Let's run over it now. So what kind of was I looking for the day? Overall, NQ has been very, 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 very choppy. It has not been very great at all. Yesterday, we got absolutely nothing because this was kind of what we got. And my overall thing was I was seeing lots of rejections to the downside here. We also saw that we were failing to break these lows here. So I was like, all right, great. If we're failing to break, so I'll move myself up there. If we're kind of failing to break past these lows, this is a clear indication that we're likely going to be reversing because I can see on, is it an hourly order block? Yes, there is an hourly order block here, which we perfectly tapped into and then rejected off. Is there a 4-hour? I don't like that 4-hour so much. I also don't like this next candle after this order block. So I'm just going to leave it like that. So you can see we perfectly tested this order block right here. And then we continued to kind of reject around here. So I was just like, all right, great. And then during, it was earlier this morning. So earlier this morning, we got a large move up around here. So I was like, all right, great. This is an indication that we no longer want to start going down anymore. So where is a likely chance that we're going to reverse from? Area of interest / liquidity. Great. I go to my 4-hour. Is there anything on a 4-hour? You can kind of look at this thingo here. It's not too ideal for me, so I didn't really like it too much. But on the 1-hour, I can definitely see there is an order block, which also shares an area with a 1-hour gap, which is perfect. What else did we have? We also had Asia lows. So we swept Asia lows, tapped into a 1-hour gap plus an order block. So this is giving us triple confirmation. In my eyes, I call a golden area when there is more than two things in one area. So let's say that you've got a fair value gap shared with Asia lows. That is what I'd consider a golden area. In this case, we've got a diamond area. We've got three things at once. We've got our order block, we got our fair value gap, and we can see we swept Asia lows. So this is like the holy trinity of confluences all in one. Great. So now I scroll to my lower time frame. I was actually going to look for continuation short, but then I also saw on the 15-minute, I saw that these were kind of very wicky candles down, but it was still good pressure. We could have very much continued going down. I'm going to delete this really quick. We could have very much continued going down, but then I saw as we came into the 6 p.m. close and closing off Asia session, literally 6 p.m. shot us down, but then we had a very strong rejection going up. As you can see, I was waiting for this area to break to possibly, if I wouldn't have been too keen on continuations from this area, but yeah, if I was going to look for continuations, it may have been from there. So then what did I see? I saw we swept on our higher time frame, as we can see here. By the way, this is all called out live in my Discord. Link in the description if you actually want to come join, watch me trade live. One of the boys was trading live with me. He didn't have any clue what was going on because he's one of the newer students. So I kind of just walked him through it and he was just like, holy shit, I just saw this happen all at once. All right, back to this though. So as I can see, there was a 1-minute breaker structure up. And then my reason of entry was I need any area of interest to get tapped into, followed by a breaker structure continuing that. So I can see initial break. And then my area of interest was simply just this 1-minute order block here. So we broke structure up, 1-minute order block, and then I entered off the high of this. You might be asking, why have I protected this area instead of this overall area here like I normally do? So as you can see on the 15-minute, I protected the 15-minute low. If we were going to come all the way down to, where was the other area? If we were going to come all the way down here, I would have likely been cooked anyway. So I was happy, very happy to just protect the 15-minute low plus some, and then just call it a day at that. Because I know if we were going to come past this area here, if we were at this point and we were going to come all the way down here, either I would have got wicked out and that would have been an unfortunate series of events, or I would have just completely gotten stopped out. So I was happy to take the risk and protect the 15-minute low, because this is also a point of liquidity for me, this 15-minute low. And I was also very confident coming into it, given that we had a huge rejection candle prior. So where was my target? My target was 1 to 1.5, because I have been testing that over the last few days. And yeah, this trade saw absolutely no drawdown whatsoever. Entered here, you can see we came back down. We tapped into another area of interest here. So potentially if you wanted to look for another entry here, I'm going to hide the initial one. So let's say you wanted to enter here, protect this low. You very much could have for, let's say, 1 to 1.5. Has that hit yet? And that has very much hit. There you go. You can see 1 to 1.5 again. Even this little area here, you can see I've already got it marked out. You probably would not have hit 1 to 1.5 just yet. And we are potentially reacting off these highs here. But in my opinion, I feel like we should come all the way through to Asia highs, and if not more, New York, previous day New York highs too. So, and then you can probably have looked to enter here as well. I'm also not looking at any other time frames for anything else, right? So you can see on the 2-minute, you could have very much entered here, protected this low. This is also the entry I just went over before. What about a 3-minute? Same thing with a 3-minute here. 5-minute. 5-minute, we might come back here, test this, and then turn around, potentially get an entry from up here. And then, but also you got to be wary, because we are reacting off, is it a 1 hour high? Yeah, we're reacting off this 1 hour high. So we might get a little bit more of a reversal or rejection down. If I was to enter around here, I would realistically want to be protecting a little bit larger. So potentially even this 15-minute gap, because what this will do, this will give us leeway to, let's say price does tag us in now. We haven't even got our entry confirmation kind of met, right? But let's say we did want to get in here. You're protecting this 5-minute gap, protecting this 15-minute gap, and all these other lower time frame gaps too, right? So you can kind of see that if you miss our first entry, you can kind of get in along the way and still be fine. Even if you're not targeting 1 to 1.5, targeting 1 to, even 1 to 1. Okay, 1 to 1 hasn't hit, but it probably most likely will. Don't take my word for it. If you enter on this, that was not financial advice. If you get stopped out, that was also not financial advice. But yeah, look, as you can see, 1 to 1 is a very, has this hit? 1 to 1 is a very high win rate kind of thing. Even if you're halfway into the leg, you can likely still milk on it. This is probably going to chop around. We might even come a little bit lower into some other liquidity. You can see there's a 2-minute order block in here. You can even have entered up here as well if you want, right? There's a lot, like with the way I enter the market, there is a lot of opportunity to get in, regardless of if your breaker structures already happened, right? So I trade continuations. This kind of means that I will continue to take price where it's going to go. So if we're showing that we want to go up, and we've kind of tagged the higher time frame area of interest, I'm not going to necessarily fully wait for another higher time frame area of interest to form, because that could take a long time. Let's say that this was already done and I missed this whole move up here. I would probably simply look to enter. Right here, maybe protect this low here, 35 points. And then I'd look at my higher time frame my higher time frames to kind of see like, all right, great. Is there anything else that I may potentially need to protect? Do I need to potentially protect a larger area in case I get stopped out? Great. Look at that. Why would I protect half the 15-minute fair value gap when I can just simply protect the full thing and be absolutely fine? Because this also covers a 30-minute fair value gap too. And what is this going to do to us? There you go. Just above 1 to 1 if you want to take it on a 30-minute and even a 15-minute. What is the likely chance that this hits? It should be pretty likely, given that we're coming off a multiple to higher time frame confluences. But as you know, trading is a game of probabilities. Like, I'm just going to leave this on the chart just to see what happens. I'm not actually going to take this, but yeah, this is kind of my trade recap for the day. If you'd like to watch me trade live, click the link in my bio. We are up 2% for the week. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh my gosh, Deb, 2% isn't a lot. But consistency. You want to take it slow. The faster you go, the more you're going to kind of cook your mentality thinking, fuck, profit, profit, profit. You always want to focus process over profits. And that's what I teach in my group. That's what I teach anyone that gets into trading. If you're thinking about the profits first, stop. Think about the process. Because when you perfect the process, the profits are inevitable, regardless of what you're doing. Think about when you go to the gym, you're building a business, you're making food, right? If you rush making food, let's say you're making a steak and you cook it on the highest heat possible. You might cook the outside, but when you cut into it, it's going to be pink as a bitch. So how are you going to expect to have a good steak if it's pink on the inside? Exactly. Take it slow. Do everything that needs to be done. Marinate, baste, sear the fat, do this and that. And then your steak will come out perfect. Same thing with your trading. Learn the basics and then get straight into it. Learn the basics and then you'll start making your profits. Regardless of how long it takes you to learn, you can take 5 days to learn, you can take 5 weeks, you can take 5 years. As long as you learn the fundamentals, you will become profitable eventually. Yeah. If you want to watch me live trade, link in my bio, and I'll see you guys all next week.